Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ruby Receptionists for Attorneys. Before we dive in, riddle me this. Have you ever wondered that your phone experience might be letting your clients down, or that maybe you're losing cases due to missed calls? Have you wondered if you could get more done without adding headcount? If you answered yes, or even maybe actually, to any of these questions, you're in the right place. Today's webinar is all about Ruby Receptionists, the virtual receptionist service that understands attorney-client relationships are built on trust, a process which begins with the very first phone call. We can help address all these issues and help set your practice apart. So let's go ahead and dive in. That's me. I'm your host, Diana Steepleton. A little bit about me. I've worn a lot of hats here at Ruby since I started back in 2009, and I currently manage and support our partnership program. I have an MBA and I have expertise in both telecom industry and owning a small business, which really helps me marry the ins and outs of Ruby's service with the unique needs of our customer base. Prior to Ruby, I spent 9 years on the equipment side of AT&T Lucent, and I owned a successful market research company, data collection company, which earned a spot on the Inc. 500 for 3 consecutive years. So I know the trials and tribulations of running a small business. I know a lot about telecom and a lot about Ruby, and hopefully I will be able to be of assistance for you guys. So before we go ahead and get started, it's going to take about 30 minutes, the webinar. If you have any questions, please do type those in the little question box. And if I can manage and see them and answer them as we're going, feel free to interrupt. I will try to answer them as time permits. If for any reason we get to the end and I was not able to answer your questions, I will absolutely address them afterwards. And we'll also be emailing all the registrants and attendees a recording of this webinar. And I actually remembered to hit record this time, so we'll be able to do that. So this is what we're going to go over, what I've planned for our time together, the importance of a great phone experience, how Ruby works, how we can help you grow your practice, some integration tools that we have that might be helpful for you, and then a little comparison tool. Someone just asked me how they increase the volume. I can try to talk more directly into my headset. Hopefully that's better. Or maybe you can turn things up on your end. I'm not sure. If other people are having a problem with the volume, will you let me know and I might log out and log back in. But hopefully it's going all right for everyone else and for you too, Patricia, as well. So let's go ahead and get started with some stats that I pulled from a variety of research places, BIA Kelsey and Invoca, and then Clio's 2017 Legal Trends Report as well. So did you know that of all channels, the phone is still the preferred method really chosen by customers and clients who interact with a business? This year, mobile search will drive more than 73 billion, that's billion with a B, inbound sales calls to businesses small and large. And it's predicted that a whopping 162 billion calls will be made to businesses next year. So with click-to-call functionality, smartphone users can search for, find, and call a business in seconds. In fact, more than 37% of people conduct an online search when looking for an attorney. And a whopping 80% of those surveys said that a good experience is likely to earn their repeat business. With 62% of those looking for a new attorney relying on referrals from a friend or family members, those good experiences are really priceless. I was going to say pricey. And on the flip side, 74% said they're likely to choose another business after a bad phone experience. Just imagine almost 2/3 of your potential new clients moving on to another firm because they had an unpleasant phone experience. That's a lot of business. Having a real, cheerful person answer your phone not only creates a great experience for your callers, but it really sets your practice apart and helps you build trust with your new and existing clients. So clearly answering the phone live and delivering an outstanding experience is paramount. Luckily, you have a lot of options. One is to answer the phone yourself. Assuming you're not helping a client or away from your desk or from your phone when it rings, you can pick it up and help the caller. And of course, it isn't necessarily ideal for countless reasons, which I'm sure you understand and probably why you're joining this webinar, but it is an option a lot of the time. If you have a paralegal or an assistant, sharing phone answering duties is also an option. That means that whichever team member answers the phone is equipped to help the caller and route them to where they need to go. Or if you have the budget for, a dedicated in-house receptionist is also a great option. Having someone on staff who knows the ins and outs of your practice and is eager to pick up the phone, it's a surefire way to make a great impression on your callers. Of course, a receptionist can help with other duties as well, as long as the phones are really first and foremost for them. Excuse me. A virtual receptionist like Ruby is another great option. It's a low-cost way to ensure that your callers always get a great experience, even when you're helping current or potential new clients, or simply focus on some uninterrupted time to work on your practice. Ruby is designed to help solos and small practice attorneys delight callers and turn them into loyal clients, just like an in-house receptionist at a fraction of the cost. So let's learn more about Ruby's virtual receptionist service. We're a team of professionals in Portland, Oregon, who answer your business calls live, helping you ensure an exceptional experience for every caller. We greet your callers with your personalized custom greeting, transfer callers to you where and when you want, and follow call handling instructions that you've helped tailor for your practice. Unlike an answering service, which really traditionally exists to take messages after hours and on weekends, that type of thing, Ruby intends to sound like part of your team. We really want to sound like an in-house receptionist. We devote a great deal of time to training our receptionists in the art of delivering exceptional customer experiences. In addition to being a friendly, welcoming voice on the phone, Ruby offers a variety of features to help you manage your practice, such as local number hosting, allowing you to call out from your cell phone and have it look like it's coming from your business number if we're hosting it, our powerful mobile app, and all sorts of things. So we're going to go over all of those here momentarily. So Ruby is really the frontline voice for over 8,000 small businesses and law practices in the U.S. and Canada. And we've been doing this for a little over 15 years. More than 42% of our customers are lawyers. This map shows states where Ruby is a member benefit of at least one state or local bar. So that means that your bar has trusted us and that there is some discount available for you. So if you end up interacting with us and potentially getting signed up, you might want to mention which bars you're a member of so that we can see if we can get you a good discount. And I'm excited to say that we just recently became a member benefit of CalBar Connect, of the Georgia State Bar, and of the Hawaii State Bar. So those are some new ones that you may not have realized that we were member benefits of. I also wanted to make a quick announcement for those of you who haven't heard that we recently introduced Ruby Solo. It's our newest product. It's priced at $149 a month. It provides a true solo with a local phone number, a comprehensive suite of management and productivity features, and a team of charming receptionists, all at the ready to take calls when you can't. We've heard from a lot of lawyers, particularly those just starting out, that they aspire to be busy enough to justify Ruby, that their phone will ring enough that they can justify the cost of having us answer it. And we finally come up with a product that lets them take advantage of us and not have to wait until their business is bigger. With Ruby answering your calls when you can't, you're rewarded with the freedom to focus on meeting with clients and building and managing your practice without sacrificing the care and attention your callers and clients deserve on the phone. So what can our receptionists do? Overall, Ruby ensures your calls are answered live, providing a consistent and welcoming experience. And those calls you can and want to take are transferred through to you live. So some people use us as their full-time receptionist. We answer all of their calls, transfer calls through to them live when we think they're available, and take messages when we don't think they're available or if they don't answer the call, even if we thought they were available. Some people have us answer on a backup kind of basis where the calls might ring to them first, and if they are available, they get them, and if they aren't available, then we handle it. So there's a number of different ways that people use us. We can answer frequently asked questions to satisfy your callers without even having to interrupt you. We can gather intake from potential new clients, helping your callers feel connected with your firm and a little less likely to go to your competitor, while providing you the valuable information you're going to need when you want to call them back. And we can provide callers with helpful information, such as when you're likely to return, giving them peace of mind and comfort in knowing what to expect. If someone leaves a message in your voicemail, they don't know if, or if they get your voicemail for that matter, they don't know if you've gone to lunch for an hour or gone to the Bahamas for 2 weeks. But if a friendly live receptionist answers and says, oh, she's in court until 3, or he's at lunch until 1, may I take a message? It gives people a lot greater peace of mind in the sense of, I can wait an hour or 3 or whatever it might be for this person to call me back. I'm not just leaving this message in this black hole and having no idea what to expect. So, there we go. So how do we do all this? With the power of innovative technology, a receptionist act and sound like they're in your office, really as part of your team. Most of the time, callers really can't tell the difference. When we believe you're available, as I mentioned before, we answer with your custom greeting. We screen your caller, although you can skip the screening if you want. Some people just want us to transfer the call through to them without asking the caller anything. Other than with whom they want to speak. But we can screen the caller and then call you and offer you the call, right? And then we'd call you, and as I said, offer you the call. If you'd like the call, we transfer the call through immediately. So that would sound like me calling and saying, hey, Steve, this is Diana with Ruby. I have so-and-so on the line. They said such and such. Would you like the call? And Steve could say, yes, that'd be great. And I say, great, here he comes. And the call is immediately transferred, and the caller has no idea that Steve and I are not in the same spot. If Steve says, can you take a message? I can go back and take a message. Steve could also say, could you see if Mary's available to take that call? Or Steve could say, could you go back and ask them who referred them or what it's regarding, or anything. We can go back and forth between you and your callers until you can make a good decision as to if you want that call or not. One of my favorites is if I'm driving and I get a call from our receptionist and they tell me who they have on the line, and I'm almost to where I need to go and go into a meeting, and they say, would you like this call? And I go, and they say, we'd be delighted to take a message. I say, excellent, that'd be perfect, and let people know that I'm going into a meeting for an hour. So if you aren't available or don't feel so inclined to take the call, again, we can take a message. We can offer the caller voicemail. We can transfer them somewhere else, as I mentioned. We can do really anything that a real live receptionist could do at that point. They are live receptionists, a real live in-house receptionist, I meant. If the caller leaves a message or voicemail, you'll immediately be notified with an app notification, an email, and or a text message. So you don't need to go searching for that message or wonder if you have messages waiting for you. We do push them to you immediately when they come in. Some other tidbits about our call handling. We can transfer a call to the phone of your choice. So your mobile or your home or your friend's mobile because yours died, or whatever the situation might be. We can gather whatever information you might want from your callers. We can handle different types of calls differently. So potential new clients could be handled differently from existing clients. Most of our attorney clients, for example, tell us that they might say, I'm going to try to work on this project for a couple hours, hold my calls. But if a judge calls or a potential new client calls or opposing counsel calls, put them through. So we can handle different types of things differently in that way. We can provide callers with a description of your service and answer some basic questions. And we can collect intake, as I mentioned before, which is really helpful when it comes down to helping secure new business. To your callers, the process is really seamless. They dial your published number and they reach a friendly person who answers with your greeting and handles the call the way you specified. All of this leads to an excellent customer experience. Ruby offers a robust mobile app as well that allows you to make quick adjustments to your call handling instructions on the fly from anywhere. All it takes is a few screen taps, and I'll share more about that in just a moment. I was going to say one of the things that we've added to our software recently, I guess I've been here 9 years, so maybe it was 2 years ago we added to our software, was the ability for the receptionist to see the weather where you are. So for example, what would happen a lot is that callers would call up, and while the receptionist is answering them, they would say something like, oh my gosh, can you believe this weather? And the receptionist would say, oh, yeah, crazy, huh? But they'd have no idea what the weather really was. And they wanted to be able to engage in that conversation and really connect with the person. So what we've done is we've added to our software that the receptionist can see the weather the previous 2 days, the current day, and the coming 2 days. So when someone says, oh, can you believe this weather? They can say, oh, seriously, it was 90 yesterday and it's 70 today. Like, that's insane. But it's just another way for us to sound in-house and to be able to connect with the callers, because the weather is often something that people bring up. I see Brian just typed in a question here of example of collect intake. So we can really collect whatever you want us to on an intake form. So it's a balancing act between asking enough questions that it allows the receptionist to engage with the caller and have them feel heard and understood and cared about, and balancing and getting enough information for you to decide, is a priority of calling this person back or maybe referring them to someone else. So that's one end of the balancing act. The other end of the balancing act is that you're paying us by the receptionist minute, so how long we're spending on those calls. So you want us to collect the right amount of information. In some cases, that's some attorneys have us ask 4 or 5 questions. It really depends on the type of law they practice, really. And then the other end of the spectrum is people have us ask 30 or 35 questions and find that it's well worth it because that person really feels invested in your firm by the end of that call, and they are very unlikely to go call someone else. Let's see, we can't continue to use our firm phone number. No, actually, I must have not explained that properly. So you can absolutely use your firm's phone number. Whatever phone number you have, you can simply forward that to us, and we will know that calls coming into that, we'll give you a toll-free number to forward to. We will know that calls that come into that number are for you. Alternatively, we can actually host your local number, which I'll go over here in a few minutes. I will explain that a little more further, but I do want to make sure you know you can absolutely use our service and your existing phone number. So let's see. Back to my presentation. If you are working on the go or in court or otherwise can't come to the phone, you can set up Ruby to just take a message or send calls to voicemail without trying to transfer the call first so that your caller doesn't need to wait. Like if we know you're not there, we don't want to put the caller on hold and try to find you. Rather than letting your caller just go to voicemail, your receptionist can answer and let the caller know a bit more about your situation. Like I mentioned earlier, you're in a meeting until noon, or you'll be returning calls after you get out of court at 3 or something like that. This additional information removes any uncertainty for callers that they might have as to whether, as I said, you're at lunch or you're in the Bahamas. And it really is a big first step in helping build loyalty and trust. You can also set up your service so that we know that you're only sending us calls when you're not available. So we know that when your calls are forwarded to us, we will never try to find you unless it's a dire emergency. We will simply take messages for you. It's how you want it set up is really completely up to you. You can choose when you'd like Ruby to answer your phone. So again, some people forward all of their calls to us and never look back. Some people use us on a backup basis, where it might ring in your office, say 2 rings first, and then come to us if you didn't answer it because you weren't there or just weren't so inclined, or you were in a meeting with someone and didn't want to interrupt it. So if you want the flexibility of answering your own calls when you're available, that's a really good way to do it. Some people also just forward and unforward as they see fit. Forward to us whenever they want us to answer. I always worry that people are going to forget to forward and leave the office, but that is absolutely an option, and lots of people do it. They have better memories than I do. And if you have an in-house receptionist, Ruby is a great safety net as well. We ensure that calls are never missed when your receptionist is on break or out sick or on vacation or even just handling another call. And for those times when your in-house receptionist is busy helping an in-house guest, focusing on another task, they can really do that and provide the service that you would want them to provide to the person they're working with, and know that you're never going to miss a call that might be your next big client. Let's see, I got another question. If your call comes into your cell, will we know it's coming from Ruby? Yes, our calls always come from 503-445-6900. Just enter that into your contact list and you will always know it's coming from Ruby, which also brings up a really good point, Brian. I appreciate you asking that, which is that, there are times when you could take a call from some people, but you might not want a call from other people. So, for example, you're in a loud restaurant, or you're out on the street and it's loud outside, and a call comes in. If that's a client you've worked with for a long time and you have a good relationship with them, it might be fine to have that conversation in a noisy environment. Whereas if it's a potential new client and you really want to make a great first impression, or if it's a judge or I don't know what, anyone with whom you might not want to have that conversation in a really loud environment, having us screen that call and call you and tell you who it is gives you that flexibility. So to decide, you can answer the call. Here we tell you who it is. And then you can say to yourself, okay, do I feel comfortable taking this in a noisy environment or not? But you can have the option and not answer the call and then say, oh gosh, I'm sorry, this is not an appropriate time to take this call. Let me call you back. So it just helps you keep your level of professionalism where you want it for any given caller. Was a good question, Brian. So here is another stat to consider on this topic. Studies show that a phone call converts 10 to 15 times the rate of a web lead. So having a real live person answering your phone is incredibly important. And it makes it pretty clear that Ruby can play a key role in attracting new clients and helping with the ones that you have. You likely spend a lot of time, energy, and money to get the phone to ring. So let's make sure that all those callers get the best experience they can when they call. Nope, I thought there was another question. Sorry. To build on this thought, did you know that customers form their first impression of your business within 7 seconds of initial contact, according to a New York University study? And when the impression is made over the phone, tone of voice is incredibly important. Studies show 87% of callers' opinion is based on the tone of voice alone. Trained in the art of delivering exceptional customer experiences, our receptionists ensure that your callers and clients receive a consistent experience and that you have peace of mind to focus on what matters most in the moment without worrying about the phone. So our claim to fame is really our extremely friendly and professional receptionists that make a wonderful first impression. Okay, let's see. I have more questions here. When a call is passed from a Ruby receptionist to voicemail, is there an option for the voicemail to be transcribed into text or email? Not currently, but within the next couple of months, yes. In fact, it might be by the end of October. Currently, our voicemails are delivered as a WAV file, a sound file, but within the next couple of months, they will be transcribable as well, or transcribed as well. Let's see, there are times when I'm paying attention to email but can't listen to a voicemail. Yeah, that happens to me all the time. The other thing you can say is for now, until we have the transcription available, you can ask that the receptionist just take a message and not offer the caller voicemail. If the caller insists on leaving a voicemail, they will let them. But if the receptionist takes a message, then it comes and it's all written out. And I generally prefer the written out message because I don't have to worry about being able to listen to anything. But the transcription is coming soon. And then another person asks, you answer in Spanish too. Yes. And if I have someone from Ruby call a potential client, will my business number show? Yes. If we make an outbound call for you, we can make the call. We will make the call look like it's coming from your office and say we're calling from your office. And as far as answering in Spanish, I would love to explain that for just a little bit. So yes, our receptionists, we have bilingual receptionists, English and Spanish. Not all of our receptionists are bilingual. So if you advertise a number, for example, that to tell Spanish-speaking callers that they should call and guarantee be answered in Spanish, if you have an ad in Spanish that you want to always be answered in Spanish, we will direct those calls straight to our bilingual group. So those calls will actually be answered in Spanish. Otherwise, if any call comes in and the caller sounds like they would prefer to speak in Spanish, if that person is bilingual, they will simply handle the call. If they're not bilingual, they will say un momento, por favor, and they will transfer the caller to a Spanish-speaking receptionist. So, sometimes people call and they speak enough English that they can make themselves understood, but it's very clear that they would really prefer to speak in Spanish, especially when calling their attorney and they're stressed, and it's not their favorite conversation of the day necessarily. So we will absolutely get them handled in Spanish. Someone's asking if there's a Google Voice integration, and it's not an integration per se, but we absolutely work with Google Voice. Google Voice can be forwarded to us, and we can answer those calls. Sheridan, if you have further questions about that, I can have someone reach out to you because I'm not sure if that answered the question or not. But I would love to answer the question for you. Make sure you get your answer. Let's see. So let's take a closer look at some of the other productivity enhancing features that I mentioned earlier. In addition to answering, transferring, and taking messages, Ruby services offer useful features and integrations to help streamline your workday. So let's get into a couple of those. There we go. When you get started with Ruby, we'll work with you to set up how you'd like us to typically handle your calls. But what if you need to make a quick change, right? Generally, you say, like my instructions say, call my desk, and if I don't answer, call my cell. So those are kind of typical instructions. Some people just say, just call my cell, or just call my desk, or call my desk, and if I don't answer, call my assistant, those types of things. But it can be whatever you want it to be. But sometimes then I know I'm going into a meeting, I don't want them to try anything, right? Or I'm going to go work from home, and my cell service isn't fabulous in my home, so I have an old-time landline in my house, and I would prefer the calls to be sent there. So our service allows you to alter your instructions for a specific time period. So we call this feature status. Think of it as anything you would say when you tap your receptionist on the shoulder as you're walking out the door, going into a meeting or going to lunch or whatever. So you could say, I'm going to be in a conference until 1. You want to change your instructions. So you can say, don't send me calls during this time period and have exceptions, or you can say, send me calls and have exceptions. So you could say, going into a meeting, but if Joyce calls, let her know, such and such, or go ahead and put her through. You can use this type of feature to indicate exceptions, as I just mentioned. So maybe you don't want to be interrupted unless it's a particular high-profile client that you've been waiting to hear from, and you want to make sure that call gets put through. So one super convenient way to keep us posted about your status is that you can sync your calendar in the mobile app. So when you open the mobile app in the morning, the Ruby mobile app, you can have synced, is that the past of sync, to your calendar, and when you open up the app, it will show your calendar events for the day. And so you can easily tap on each one and indicate if during those time periods you would prefer us to be handling your calls differently than normal. You can also just do I'll show you here in a moment. There'll be another screen that'll show the picture of the app. Excuse me, but you can change it for a particular time period. You can say until further notice, handle my calls this way, or you could just say hold my calls and I'll let you know in a minute when I'm done. a lot of attorneys tell us they have a chunk of time in the morning or the afternoon that they want to focus on doing anything but taking calls. If you have some kind of schedule like that, you can let us know on a regular basis that, Tuesday afternoons, you're always busy. Don't ever send the calls. So there's just a lot of flexibility and great ease of use in terms of being able to have us on the fly really modify your call handling instructions. So just like if you had a live person sitting there who you were telling these instructions to. So as I mentioned earlier, our robust app for iPhone and Android really is a game changer. You can choose when Ruby answers, when we transfer to you, when we take messages for you, really easily and from anywhere. You can provide your receptionist with call handling and routing instructions in an abundance of ways. You can keep track of your call activity and your messages. Anytime Ruby takes a message for you or transfers a call to voicemail, Ruby will immediately send you an email and or text message, and it shows up in the app. Even if the caller declines to leave a message, we'll send you an FYI message so that you know that someone called. And let's see. So on that left screen, you can see the little hold calls button. So here it says my normal call handling instructions. You can click on that and change your instructions either for a set period of time or until further notice, or and again, make those exceptions that I mentioned earlier. But if you're just running into a meeting and you just want us to hold your calls until you let us know otherwise, you just hit that little orange hold calls button, and we will hold your calls until you hit that little button again to say resume normal call handling. Let's see. And okay, yep, I'm going to cover this on the next screen. Excuse me. So Ruby can even host your existing business number for you or provide you with a local phone number free of charge. So as I mentioned earlier, when someone, when someone had asked about that if you could use your existing phone number, you can absolutely use your existing phone number. You can simply forward it to us and we can handle your calls that way. But if you port it to us and have us host it for you, which means we take over the financial responsibility for that line during this time, and we'll of course give it back to you when you're done using our service, assuming you've paid us in full and all, then that gives you A, the ability not to pay for that phone line anymore and not have to deal with that phone company, and B, gives you the ability to go into our app, and when you're making an outgoing call, you can choose if you're going to call out from your cell phone number or call out from your business line. And that allows you to look like you're sitting in your office making a call, even though you're sitting somewhere else. So it's very handy. It helps you be able to keep your cell phone number private, and also, kind of keep your professionalism up in that way. And soon, this is another thing that's coming along with the voicemail transcription, that you will be able to text from your local number as well through our app. So if we're hosting your number for you, you still have all the flexibility that you would have if you kept that number for yourself, but you don't have to pay for it anymore. Ever get to the end of the day and you find you just didn't have enough time to make some important calls, or wish you had time to make confirmation calls to shore up your appointments for the following day? Well, we've got your back on that one too. We would be delighted to make your outbound calls. We can relay information or gather information or confirm appointments. We used to say that we would do anything you like. We will make an appointment for your dog to be checked by the vet or get your brakes checked, or, we'll do any kind of business that you need to have done. And again, we used to say that we would do anything, but someone called up a while ago and asked us if we would break up with his girlfriend for him. And that's where we said we had to draw the line. So couldn't get that done. Let's see. I'm just realizing that it's 10:29 already, and this has taken me longer than I had anticipated. So I will speed up a little, and hopefully you guys can stay with me for maybe another 5 minutes. So we can also work with your calendar using Calendly, and I can explain that further if anyone's interested at the end. But it helps us schedule appointments for you using. It enables us to put appointments onto your calendar using Calendly, that can integrate with Outlook Calendar and Google Calendar and all sorts of calendars. But it enables us to be able to schedule appointments for you without actually seeing the other stuff that's on your calendar, so it's not creepy in that way. And it's a very handy little tool. So we can also answer frequently asked questions. If you're tired of answering the same questions over and over again and being interrupted to do so, people expect the receptionist in a law firm to know if you handle, what type of cases you handle. Do you offer free consultations? Do you have a stated hourly rate? Those types of things. And we would be delighted to answer those questions for you, save you the trouble. So intake, we talked about intake a little bit before, so I don't think I need to go over that again. since I'm running out of time. But again, if anyone has any more questions about intake, it's very flexible. We don't have a set intake form. It's really whatever you want us to ask people. We can gather all the information you might need for your case. I mentioned earlier that we do integrate with some useful tools. So we have a bi-directional integration with practice management systems Rocket Matter and Clio. That gives you the ability to manage your calls and messages that are handled by Ruby within your practice management system. So our messages will flow straight into Clio and Rocket Matter. And it also allows us to see the case contacts so that we can recognize names and be more familiar when your clients call. We don't see anything about the matters that we should not see, so don't worry about that. And if you use Lexicata, Ruby's call data is also synced with its CRM and client intake solution to easily gather preliminary information, reduce double entry, track where the calls are coming from, and that type of stuff to make sure you're using your marketing channels most effectively. We have more information on these integrations as well, so if you want more information on that, let me know. So we've really covered a lot of information, but let's circle back to the original question is really, what is Ruby? Basically is an opportunity to provide an outstanding experience for all of your callers and clients, helping build trust with them and peace of mind for you and helping you grow your practice. Our quality is really kind of unparalleled is what we hear from our customers. It gives you the freedom to work the way you want in the office, on the road, wherever, without sacrificing the needs of your callers. So if you're interested in experiencing the difference a live quality virtual receptionist service can make for your firm, we are here for you. We are in Portland, Oregon. All of our receptionists come to work each day in our offices. We have 3 offices in the Portland area, and all of our receptionists work full-time in the offices. So they are virtual to you, but they're not virtual to us. They're not home in their jammies with the dog barking and the baby crying and that kind of stuff. Our mission is really to preserve and perpetuate real, meaningful connections in an increasingly technology-focused virtual world. You call somewhere and you get a wonderfully helpful, kind person on the phone. It makes all the difference in the world in terms of who you want to do business with. Our service is designed to keep costs economical while keeping those human interactions alive. Our receptionists are super well trained and they continue to go through ongoing training all the time. We answer 100% of our calls for during our business hours live, including evenings and weekends, ensuring that your English and Spanish speaking callers always reach a friendly professional customer experience expert who's really excited to make a difference in their day. That's really what motivates our receptionists. We have a 21-day money-back guarantee. You're welcome to give it a try, risk-free. And best of all, we're never sick, late, or on vacation. So we're really always there, excited to delight your callers and help build a good relationship with them. So here's a little checklist. We're going to send this out afterwards, so I won't spend any time on here, but it's just a little checklist that kind of explains the options of how you might handle your phone. Ruby handle them, have voicemail, in-house receptionist, or use an answering service. So you can take a look at this later, but I would love to get to your questions because I see there have been a few more that have come in. Someone enjoyed that story. That's nice. Let's see. If I set up tracking phone numbers, a phone number that only appears on an ad or on my website, separate from my business number, can I route those calls to Ruby? Yes, absolutely. We can answer. You can point as many phone numbers as you want to us. And if you are using those numbers through a tracking system that'll track the calls for you, then that tracking is done on that end. Alternatively, if you just get a bunch of phone numbers and you don't have tracking on them in any way, there's a way that we can help you track that information. It's probably cheaper to get the tracking done by the people who are providing the phone numbers, I will say. Let's see, regarding outbound calls, would you be able to cold call prospective business clients given a standard script? Not really. So here's the deal. Our receptionists are wonderfully kind and friendly and helpful. They are not persuasive. They are not trained to be salespeople. Some people use us to say they're going to do a seminar, a wealth management advisor or someone, that type of customer or client of ours. They might do a seminar and they might want us to invite people to seminar. So maybe they've sent something out to all these potential clients and then they want us to follow up and see if people want to come. So we would call and say, hey, did you get the thing about the seminar? We'd love to have you come. If the person says yes, we say, great. We take down all their information. If the person says no, they also say, great, okay, have a wonderful day. They will not try to talk them into coming. So I don't think we would be a good solution for that, unfortunately. Let's see, looking at your website, question about the difference between the solo option and the regular option. I noticed it doesn't include the FAQ and custom intake form. So with that option, does that mean they'll just simply take basic message but not answer any questions or collect intake? You are completely correct, Antonio. On the solo plan, it really is designed. There's only 30 receptionist minutes in there, and it's really designed to make sure you use those minutes as wisely as you possibly can. So we want to keep the calls nice and short, and they'll just take a basic message. They will absolutely, ask who is calling and what it's regarding and that type of stuff, but they're not going to do an intake form or answer a bunch of frequently asked questions. So. Let's see, what is the price point for the standard plan? So the lowest standard plan is $299 a month. It includes 100 receptionist minutes. We bill in 30-second increments, so calls are rounded up to the nearest 30 seconds. So a short call, could be as little as 30 seconds. The average call sits at about a minute and a half. So 100 receptionist minutes, figure 20 business days in an average month. It's enough for about 3 or 4 calls per business day. Again, remember, some people have us answer all their calls. Some people have us answer their overflow calls. So if they're there and feel so inclined, they can pick up the phone. And if they're not, then those calls roll to us. And so often, answering 3 or 4 calls a day on average is plenty for people. I would say that about 60% of our clients are on that smallest plan. And if you go over that plan, the additional minutes are simply prorated, so they're exactly the same rate as the calls that are in that plan. So $299 for 100 minutes. Obviously, it's $2.99 a minute, and those additional calls are just billed at that, again, in 30-second increments. And again, we are a member benefit of a lot of state and local bars, and so you might check with your bar or check with us. We know which ones we're members of or member benefits of, and we can let you know if there's a discount available because of that. So I think that has answered all the questions. I'm going to look up really quickly and make sure. Yes, I think I've answered all the questions. So let's see. So I really appreciate everybody joining me and staying on. And I apologize that we went a few minutes over. If you have questions about Ruby or our virtual receptionist service in general, we'd love to chat. Our number is 866-611-7829 or 866-611-RUBY. hello@callruby.com. We'll get you straight to our sales group, and they would be delighted to help you. And you can find us online at callruby.com. So really appreciate everybody's time, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.